But back in the day, in the 80s, DC had their Secret Origins comic, 2 stories per issue, and I was just looking at that the other day because I'm actually doing an 8-page Batman black and white story for Chirello. And I have to pray to the gods every morning. I have to, when I'm getting up, I'm going, all right, I don't know what it takes to do this right. So my wife gave me a spin rack. My wife gave me a spin rack for my birthday 2 years ago, and it was the first piece of furniture we moved into our new house. And the spin rack is in my studio. And Shelton Drum, who runs this convention, came over to visit one day, and he walked in and said, "Is that an FF81 on a spin rack and not in a bag?" And I went, "Uh-huh." And I picked it off, and I went, like this, comics are meant to be read, the spines are meant to be cracked. And I've got a whole shelf, like a whole thingy on that spin rack devoted to your stuff. And when I'm working on this Batman black and white story, I got to look at your Batman black and white story, your Secret Origin of Man-Bat, and that wonderful Legends of the DCU you did with the team up between Superman and Robin.
Yeah, finishes over Dave Taylor's Legends.
Yeah, and they really didn't feel like finishes. They really feel like you took control of the situation and did a man's job and redrew it.
In some places, but Dave admitted he'd never done layouts before, so it was sort of a mixed bag. But anyway.
But the reason why I bring that one up is if you ever get a chance to look at that and you want to understand what I mean when I say Kevin Nowlan's sour palette, what I loved about that story was you used your wonderful desaturated sour tones on everything in that story, including Robin the Boy Wonder, gayest costume in comics, yellow, red, and blue. You actually made Robin's costume like this sort of plum magenta,
like nighttime colors.
Nighttime colors, olive green, and the yellow was so toned down it was almost a warm gray. But Superman was red, yellow, and blue, and it literally is like somebody shining a flashlight in your face when you turn that page after 8 or 9 pages of sour.
But there's a reason for that, because he's in Gotham City. Yeah. And so I thought he shouldn't be. He's not part of Gotham City. He's Metropolis. It's sunlight, and he's. But go ahead.
But what was the nice thing about that was when you read the story, it's all about Robin's first meeting with Superman. And there's this wonderful flashback where you always draw the grimmest Batman in the history of mankind, and I love that because like whenever Kevin draws, I always just think like whenever I look at Kevin's Batman, he's going Mom and Dad, Mom and Dad. He's just Full Metal Jacket. He's being Batman, and there's a great flashback panel where I guess there's some sort of Superman news story up on the bat screen, and like really young Dick Grayson is going to Batman. Was he here? Was he really here? And Batman's like, yes. And Robin says, what was he like? And Batman says, he's not human, Dick. He's like thunder and lightning. And that was really great when you actually portrayed him in the story being those bright primary colors. His flesh tones were vibrant, and in contrast to all of Gotham City. And because it wasn't just Superman's a bright character from a bright story, and the Gotham City universe is dinge, darkness, and emergency rooms. It was the fact that the story was about Superman it's one of those stories where Superman's an alien. Superman's not one of us, and the way you actually did that just with the simple color choices, you heightened the sense of Robin looking at Superman going, he's not like us. He's different. He's special.
Yeah, I was so excited when they let me color that because, again, we were running late, and it's one of those situations where you're not sure how late the inks are until, in that case, the editor said, oh, would you like to color this as well? And then you go, okay, I wasn't as late as I thought. If they have time for me to do the color guides, then we're okay. But I had, as I was inking it or finishing the pencils or layouts or whatever, the things you were talking about, all these suggestions for, because it's Superman in Gotham City, and primary colors on his costume in Gotham City is so gray. There's nothing you can make, no better way to make a figure come forward than those bright colors and then a dark, neutral background or gray background or something like that. So it seemed like an easy opportunity to do some nice effects.
But it's amazing that it isn't obvious. It's like it's obvious to a guy like you.
Right. We've had other people color our work, and how we can miss those seemingly obvious things. Yeah.
I started out on Justice League America at DC Comics, and it was at the tail end of the old 4-color process where they would, we would do the color guides, or someone would do the color guides. And I remember when my first issue of Justice League came out, and there's like Guy Gardner and John Jones standing in front of like this computer bank, and I drew like this. I drew my heart out. I just I'm gonna draw like movie tech, like Ron Cobb, and just amazing 3-point perspective, and it was pink. It was a bright pink computer. I was just kind of like, well, that's special, it's the Justice League's like my little computer setup, and I remember asking the editor, going, why is the computer pink? And he says, the colorists have a tendency to go, okay, well, all the characters in the story, because they would do it with dyes. They would do their little color guides with dyes. They'd have little bottles, Flesh, Batman, Superman's hair, that kind of stuff. And it said a lot of times they'll look at all the colors and go, okay, all these brightly colored characters are using these colors, what's left? And pink, like the scrawniest kid on the playground, is sitting over here by itself waiting to be picked, and growing bitter with every day. And he said, well, I guess I'll use pink for the buildings. I'll use pink for the computers. And that's one, I don't know about you, but I didn't feel like I was, being given the opportunity to color my own stuff. I felt like I was taking control of the work. And it's just a matter of, when you're working on something, and it's also why, I think we ink a lot of our own stuff, is unless you and the inker and then the colorist after them are either all on the same page, or if the serendipitous outcome of you guys fighting each other produces genius, and that only happens 1 in a million times. Yeah. Normally what happens is your hard work is sort of being countered or taken away. It's like, wow, I really worked hard to build towards this on this particular cover or panel, and the inker and the colorist, because they had a different mindset and a different set of priorities, they're actually taking away everything I was leading us towards. And I've always said that the artist, the penciler, is the architect of the visual aspect of the book. The writer comes up with the idea, the writer comes up with the tone, the themes, the characterizations, but it's still words on a page until either that writer, who might be a cartoonist and do their own drawing, or they hire somebody like us to do the art. We're the people that actually take it from abstract concepts, words on a page, and start the visual process. And everything after us, so we're sort of like the guy at the front of the column with the machete beating our way through the jungle. And it's
and hopefully the other guys follow you.
Exactly.
And they'll go off in another direction. Yeah.
And you just have a bunch of guys lost in the woods, And it's like, that isn't good in life or in art.
But it's surprising how often, especially when you think back on the newsprint coloring, how often they could go off in the strangest directions.
The weirdest directions.
There had to be some logic to it that we were missing. But yeah, I remember that Doctor Strange story that I did. There was a close-up of Doctor Strange's face, and he's surprised, so they colored it solid red, about this color right here. Just flat red.
Yeah.
And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what the point of that was.
Because of that red light that goes off whenever we're startled. Come on, Kevin.
He wasn't embarrassed. He was just startled. Yeah.
It
made no sense.
This is back before the internet. This is back before we could easily talk to the other people we work with,
or see it before it was printed. It was impossible.
Yes.
Then. Yeah.
So you would go to the comic shop or go on the newsstands, and then you would open up your work, and obviously you would go red because you were startled by your colors. And